Everything I've loved in this world, and even the curse that fell on me too.
Hello everybody, Infinite Shinjo here, and welcome to today's video. So, have you ever wondered what the Pokemon characters would have for decks if they were in the Yu-Gi-Oh universe? Well, I wasn't until a couple of days ago either, but Metal Hopper gave me this suggestion, and I already did one on what if Yu-Gi-Oh characters had ace Pokemon, so now I'm doing the flip side. What if Pokemon characters had Yu-Gi-Oh decks? Now, a lot of these decks I'm not 100% familiar with. A lot of these I just thought they kind of matched the character. Some of these I'm more familiar with, but I just picked these characters to go along with these decks based off of a couple of other reasons, and I'll go into each one of them as I get into them. But in today's video, I'm going to be listing off Ash and every single one of his companions, what deck they would have. So I'm not going to waste any more time and get started. So up first we have the man Ash Ketchum. And he doesn't specialize in one type, so it was a little bit hard for me to pick one for him. But what I decided to do is give him the Ultra Athlete, the UA deck. I'm not familiar with the cards myself, but the only reason I gave this to him is because of the meme where Ash can literally lift up a Cosmo M, a Larvitar, can just do all these superhuman sort of things, and the Ultra Athletes feel like they just kind of fit with that. That is literally the only reason. And up next we have Brock and Misty, and I can't remember which order they are in on the playlist, so let's see. Okay, Brock. I gave Brock the Adamancipators. Another deck I'm not familiar with, but I did check and they are all rock types, so it fits. The only other one I was thinking about are maybe the fossil cards that Jim Cook uses, but since it's a deck that I'm not familiar with, I feel like it makes sense. I could also give him a reference to him being a Pokemon breeder, but I couldn't really think of a good reason for that. Now for Misty, it was super obvious. She gets the Marincess deck. It's probably not that big of a stretch to understand why. She's a water type specialist, Marincesses are water. It just kind of makes sense. And as well, next is Tracy, the character that nobody remembers. He gets the Injectors. And the only reason he gets the Injectors is because most of the mons that he has are bug types. Not all of them, obviously, but there's enough of a bug type representation in there that it just kind of makes sense. Plus, I like the idea of Tracy using a deck that's kind of top tier, at least from what I've heard. Now that we're out of the original series, it's time to go on to the advanced generation. And we have May and Max here. I gave May the Abyss Actors. I knew I had to give the Abyss Actors to somebody. It was either gonna be May or Serena, because both of them perform on stage, and just the fact that May's a lot more expressive and just kind of wild just kind of makes sense. I was thinking about having her get a food-based deck in a reference to the fact that she's always hungry, but I think the Abyss Actors work. And as well, for Max, a very surface level reason, he gets the Math Mech. I have never even seen many of these cards. I think I have like one of the cards, but Max is smart, you can already see the resemblance there. I could give him a straight Cyburst deck as well, but I wanted to give them a deck that's actually not just a dinosaur deck, a machine deck. I wanted to give him an actual machine deck that is a whole archetype. So next is Dawn, and this one I am very proud of. And it's probably going to be very obvious to you the instant that you see it. She gets the Penguins. Her starter is Piplup. It makes perfect sense. There are probably other good reasons that I could give her other decks, but just the fact that her starter is a Piplup, it just worked perfectly. And this one probably isn't that big of a stretch. Gen 5 brought us Iris and Silent, and Silent gets the Madolches. He talks in food, it makes perfect sense. Now, Iris was a lot more tricky because there are a lot of dragon decks around. I could have easily argued a Red Eyes or a Blue Eyes deck, since black and white represents truth and ideals, Reshiram and Zekrom are two different colors of the spectrum. I could have given her a Red Eyes deck based off of that, but instead I decided to give her Dragoonides. They're a deck that honestly is kind of underrated in Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't see many people, especially in the anime, no one plays Dragoonides. So I feel like Iris having that kind of works. It could also be a reference that Axie was always hiding in Iris's hair, like an equip spell. It just kind of works even better with that. Up next we have the Clement, Bonnie, and Serena cast of X and Y, who are definitely hot in the news because of Pokemon Journeys. What I decided to do is give Clement the Morphtronics. You can already see the resemblance because Clement likes to build stuff. The Morphtronics are just appliances. Although at the same time, I could have just given him the Appliancer deck, but the Morphtronics just work better in my opinion. And Bonnie, I gotta be honest, after I made all of these papers, I realized that I could have given Bonnie a dragon-based deck based off of Zygarde, but instead, I gave her the Fairy Tail deck. And this one just kind of works perfectly in my opinion, because the Fairy Tails, it could even be Leon's Fairy Tail deck from the anime, Leon from Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, but this Fairy Tail deck, I'm assuming that they're all fairies, I'm not exactly sure, but it just kind of works with Bonnie. At the same time, I could have given her the Hunter deck because they're just younger electric type users, and it could be a nice reference to Bonnie in that. Or I could have just given her a deck with a giant green dragon as a boss monster. I don't know, maybe she deserves the Dragoonides. And Serena. I know I said earlier how I wasn't sure if I was going to give her or May the Abyss Actors, but since I gave May the Abyss Actors, I had to give Serena something else. I'm really happy with the reasoning that I came up with here. Serena gets the Ghost Tricks. Not because it's something that works with her personality, but I checked up on her Bulbapedia page, and one thing that they specified is that she has a fear of the supernatural. So I feel like the opposites in that just kind of work in my opinion. But at the same time, I could have just given her another performance deck. Heck, I could have given her the Performapal or the Performage. I didn't even think about that. But I like this much better. Up next is the Alola crew, and I gotta be honest, I don't remember which order they're gonna come in. So up first we have Kiawe. He gets the Volcanics. There are very few fire-based decks, maybe the Lavels or the Flamvels, but the Volcanics are the first thing that I thought of. Especially a reference to the fact that you battle him on top of a volcano, just works even better. Who's next in the Alola group? It is Lana. She gets the Mermails. Although you could argue that Lana gets the Marincess and Misty gets the Mermails, either way is fine because they're both water-based decks. It just works regardless. I believe that Lily is up next. Lily is up with the Ice Barriers, solely for a reference to Snowy the Vulpix and the fact that she got an Ice Z Crystal. That's literally just the only reference. At the same time, I could have given her a space-themed deck like maybe the Aliens as a reference to her mother, but I like the idea of the Ice Barriers better. I'm pretty sure that Sophocles is up next, and to no one's surprise, he gets a Watt deck. It's literally an electric-based deck, and I realize now looking at this, the Watt Castle looks very similar to Festival Plaza, which he is in charge of, so it works even better with that. And up finally, Malo. Again, probably not a surprise, she gets Naturias. She's a grass-type trainer. Naturias, they work in the forest. It just works. Now, I wasn't sure about including Go and Koharu, but I figured I might as well since I included everybody else. And these two were very tricky, because they don't really have a specific personality trait like Rock does, being a rock-type specialist, Misty and Lana are water-type specialist. It was harder to pinpoint down a deck for them, so what I decided to do was give Go the Magnet Warriors, because Go's a smart sort of character, a lot more analytical. I feel like the Magnet Warriors work for him, although I probably could have given him the cards like Bastion's Water Dragon from the anime. I feel like that would have been a nice fit as well. Basically any brainy sort of deck. And Koharu's, I'm probably way off base with this one. The Dragon Maids. I literally couldn't think of anything else. I was thinking about having a reference to her dad being a professor and not sure which path to take. but I couldn't think of a clear deck idea to give her for that. So I just ended up with a Dragon Mage. They're a whole female-based archetype, so it makes sense. But that is today's video. Let me know if you like these ideas. Let me know if there are any that you think should have been changed. I'm sure there are a couple I could have done better, but there are so many decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! That I could have just spent all day trying to come up with a better reasoning for some of these. But a lot of them were very surface level, obvious references. But I hope you enjoyed anyway. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know down in the comment section, and I'll see you next time. Momentai.